Hello everybody, I'm Krasi, and this is my brief analysis on the week of the 12 ascendants. This is very general because the horoscopes of each one of us are unique. So this is just very general to give you idea how the celestial movements will influence you. Under this video, you'll find the time marks of every ascendant. So let's just very briefly tell you that this week is beginning, 25th of March, is beginning interestingly with Venus changing sign and entering Aquarius, and Mars changing sign and entering Taurus. Now, this is interesting. I will speak separately on each one of two planets and how this will influence us. But just to tell you that when Venus is entering Aquarius, this is a very interesting, very fine, spiritual even thing. Venus is a morning star. This is Athena Pallas. She's very wise. She's very ambitious. When entering Aquarius, Aquarius is a sign of her own triplicity. This is because we know Venus is ruling Libra. And when entering Aquarius, she still has her own she feels comfortable there because she has her own rulership by triplicity. But Venus, morning star, Athena Pallas in Aquarius is very spiritual and very fine. I will speak separately only about Venus. This is just to give you a brief idea. Then Venus and Mars will be forming a square, and this square, Mars not in very fine position in the sign of his detriment. Venus and Mars squaring is not really very fine for our financial status. It's not really very fine for even for the markets, but it's not also fine for our emotions. People may become too emotional and may have some lessons in relation to their love lives. But let's start with Aries, and on Venus and on Mars. I will talk in a separate videos because they are always interesting. Now, so I'm starting with Aries, and Aries you have it already for quite some time, Uranus on the ascendant. Now when Venus will be entering your 11th house, this is quite, and Mars is leaving you. So all these impulses for new ambitious, new beginnings may be a little bit softened now when Mars will be leaving your ascendant. Venus will be forming a harmonious aspect, and this is quite fine, and this is a true blessing in terms of spirituality, in terms of the friends around you, in terms of your ideas. So this is good. Saturn is trining your ascendant, and I see this also as a very good thing in terms of spirituality, in terms of studies that may be related to deep philosophical knowledge, but also exact studies which are responding very much to the nature of Saturn. Jupiter is just between signs, between Scorpio and Sagittarius in the last degree, just placed in the sting of the Scorpion, and from there is also helping you to in terms of studies, education, knowledge related to exact sciences, as I said, and to high philosophical notion. So the week is good for you, very much about spirituality, and you will need to do some additional efforts for your finances. This is for certain, especially with this placement of Mars now. Let's see Taurus. Now, Venus, when changed position, and is very beneficial for you, for your work, for your career. Venus in the place of your career, but conjoined, quite wide conjunction, of course, with the invisible and retrograde Mercury. So this is fine. This is fine for your speech. Well, the week may not be good for new beginning. The same was valid also for Aries, but the week may not be good for new beginning, but may be good for oratory work, for sharing your knowledge, for teaching others, for obtaining new knowledge. It may be beneficial for your finances because Venus is quite well placed. Now, Mars entered your ascendant, and that is why it is advisable to be patient with the people around you, with your beloved ones during this period. Jupiter will be helping you a lot, especially if you will be very intuitive, very spiritual. Just be patient with your beloved ones. Stay away from conflicts. From when you will be traveling, choose a good date for this. When you will be doing new beginnings, also you may have this impulse because of Mars on the ascendant, but the week is not the most very appropriate for this. However, you will be very supported in terms of finances, but this, even though you will have desire to do ambitious or motivation to do some new project or new work, I would say don't get into any risky situations. Gemini. Well, same as last week, you having in opposition Saturn and Pluto still. Now, Jupiter, excuse me, is quite much influencing you for good when so near your descendant. This is Jupiter, again, also for you, the same is valid in your 6th house, in the sting of the Scorpio, related to medical issues, like for good, medical notion, medical knowledge. Even you may benefit from this period, like receiving the most appropriate information for healing, for example, because Jupiter is in a very important degrees in Scorpio, in the sting of the Scorpio. This will be a moment of good knowledge for your work, for your routine day work. You may use this placement of Jupiter for enhancing your intuition, on your spiritual knowledge, or knowledge of natural healing or Reiki in this way. Venus is very good trine in your ascendant. This is true blessing. The Sun in the place of your career is also very good. It's really blessing, and the Sun is exalted. Now, Venus will be wonderful for traveling, but still with Saturn making opposition to your ascendant. Be cautious with every initiative you do. Be very patient with the people at home, with your beloved ones. Be careful also with contracts. In any case, Venus will be very supporting, and Jupiter will be supporting your everyday routine life, especially if you're using your intuition. Cancer. All right, now the Sun exalted exactly this week in the point of the spring vernal equinox will be trining your ascendant. Wonderful for your intuition, wonderful for knowledge, good for travel. Jupiter is leaving the place of your work to move to the place, Mars is leaving the place of your career and your work to move into the place where Mars is detriment, where you're having your friends, your social life, people which are surrounding you, also your money. Also, this can put in question some of the people that are surrounding you. So be patient, be very intuitive with the people around you. Don't get into risky, conflicting situation. However, Mars in your 11th house is absolutely not a bad placement. He will be there to add up to your motivation, to add up to your desire to do new projects, new plans. Be careful with the people which surround you during this period. This is for two reasons. One is the placement of Saturn, and the second is the placement of Mars in your 11th house. In terms of love, in terms of this week may not be the most fruitful, but it will be very esoteric and wonderful again for enhancing your intuition, and your routine life and routine work will be supported for sure. Leo. Mars is exactly detriment in the place of your career. So stay away from conflict situation. Be very intuitive. So use your powerful intuition in every communication or everything that will be happening in your career and at your work. Your ascendant ruler is in the 8th house to help you with finding ancient or deep esoteric knowledge, philosophical studies, will help you enhance your intuition. Saturn, of course, for quite some time already, but in your 5th house will be supporting those studies which do not require diploma, which do not apply to the matrix. So the whole period of Saturn on your 5th house will be very much opportunity for obtaining knowledge which is different from what our matrix is all about. Those studies that are hidden, for example, or that do not really end up with receiving of diploma. So this was very important. Also, Venus now will be very, very supportive in your 7th house. We will support your relationship. We will support your love life. We will support your spirituality. We'll be very positive. Also, will give you joy when in your 7th house and opposing your ascendant. Will give you support. Will give you blessing. Will give you joy, and will be softening those martial influences that you have otherwise on your midheaven. However, still think twice when you will be communicated at work, at the place of your career, and use your intuition. And now we are having Virgo, just to adjust it. Mars is playing a good role for you from the 9th house. Yes, detriment, but still in the 9th house, Mars, which naturally rules your 3rd house of spirituality, of siblings, of short distance travels, and so on, and your 8th house of enlightenment, of life and death. So Mars, who is ruling these places, now is in your 9th house, which can bring into life some interesting hidden knowledges which you otherwise were searching for example. Mars, on the other hand, being in your 9th house can be supportive for your travel, for your spirituality, also for your education. The Sun in the 7th house, in the place of exaltation for our era, is also this week will be also very much supporting your family, will stay steady in your 7th house to support your private life, your relationships, and your routine everyday life and work will be supported by Venus and Mercury in your 6th house. Your health will be also supported by the placement of Venus. However, because of the placement of Saturn, also you be cautious and be very responsible with your health, and also be patient with the beloved one, with your beloved ones at home, because still Saturn is squaring your descendant for quite some time. But this we're repeating each time because we know that Saturn stays in one sign for approximately 2.5 years. Jupiter is very interesting for you in your 3rd house, just in the very last degrees, moving from the sting of the Scorpion, related to natural healing, related to deep, hidden philosophical knowledge, and will move to the very last degrees. So, and this is in the place of your spirituality, in the place of your siblings. So how this will manifest exactly depends on your personal chart, but still this may bring interesting personal relationship events between you and your siblings, also events related to your spirituality. All this can be very interesting. Now let's see Gemini. Libra. Now Venus, who is ruling Libra, is in Aquarius. And being in Aquarius, as we said, Venus is quite fine, because this is where Venus is exalted for our era. Well, we have the ideal place of exaltation of Venus, which is Pisces, but Venus is also very fine in Aquarius, really fine. And because in Aquarius, Venus, as we said, is having own rulership, the rulership of own triplicity. So Venus is in Aquarius in your 5th house, and this is wonderful, wonderful for your love life. Well, it may go too emotional because of the square of Mars, so still be patient with your beloved ones, but still this is supportive and interesting and could be very temperamental in terms of your private relationships and love life, also luck, also studies, again, those that do not belong to the matrix. Also, lucky events may take place when Venus is entering your 5th house. So this is quite fine. Now we're having Jupiter still in your 2nd house to support you financially, but not that much. For this, in order to make use of this particular placement of Jupiter, now very specific in the very last degrees of Scorpio, use your intuition more than ever so that you really have financially beneficial week. Saturn is supporting your deep philosophical desires to study and knowledge. So this is very, very nice. So basically this is it, but for Libra. And from the 6th house, the Sun exalted is supporting your routine life, your routine business. Well, the week may not be the most appropriate for new beginnings, but still, with this placement of Venus, you may do all activities which are related to beauty, to jewelry, for example, also to spirituality, because Venus soon, towards the end of the week, will also pass through the degrees of Fomalhaut, powerful royal star of spirituality. So the week will be very interesting also for you. Now let's see Scorpio. Scorpio, yes, this is interesting again because we are having, as I mentioned quite many times, Jupiter moving this week from the degrees of Shaula, the star, which is exactly the sting of the Scorpion, to the very last degrees of Jupiter. And there, these degrees are ruled by Saturn. They're all ruled by Saturn. And they're considered a little bit dark, a little bit melancholic. So do not wonder if this week in particular, maybe also the next week, you feel that you're lacking the joy which Jupiter is normally bringing you. This is because Jupiter now is like, imagine him put in a water, but in some dark degrees, which are not so, which are complex, so to say, which are very intuitive, very much about natural healing, very much about knowledge about medics or secrets or poisons, all these which the sting of the Scorpion can bring up. So you can imagine that Jupiter this week will not bring you the usual joy. He's having very different nature now. Benefit from his nature differently with intuition. He will still be supporting you financially, but not that much as he would do before. Saturn in your 2nd house still with Pluto will say that you may need to do additional efforts for making your money. Venus is on your 4th house to support your home, to support your properties, to support if you want your parents, and in general this is quite fine for your home. And the Sun is in a lucky position, so still good for your knowledge, good for your intuition. This is quite fine. And Mars is entering your descendant, where he may bring some too temperamental emotions at home with your beloved ones. So be careful, be patient, and don't take risky trips, don't participate, avoid to participate in risky, conflicting situations. Still, you will be very lucky because of the placement of Venus, of Jupiter, of the Sun, but avoid risks anyway. And now we are having Sagittarius. And Sagittarius now is even more interesting than last week because of Jupiter again being influencing already quite a lot. Sagittarius being in the last degrees of Scorpio, and Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, of course. So Jupiter will be influencing you interestingly with bringing up interesting knowledge on medications, on healing, or philosophical knowledges of all sorts, lofty ideals if you want. And Saturn will still be a little bit challenge for you, still, because Saturn is there for quite some time. I know with Pluto, benefit from this with a lot of spirituality, spiritual deeds, with empathy, with discipline. This is Saturn, and this is what he requires. And we can't change this so much, but through our behavior, through our awareness, so we can influence this. Venus on your third house is fine, sextiling your ascendant, trining your descendant. So Venus will be supporting you, and also will soften the heart. Certain influences will also be very good in terms of spirituality, speech, even travel. But be during the period, the whole long period while Saturn is on your descendant, be responsible for your health. This is needed. This week also be cautious with hidden enemies. Be cautious not to be involved. How you communicate with people at work. Use your intuition and your discipline. Be disciplined. And now we're having Saturn. Also for you this week, Saturn in the ruling Capricorn. I'm talking about Capricorn. Saturn is ruling your ascendant, of course. Saturn in the 12th is always very interesting in terms of spirituality, bringing secret knowledge, desire. A little bit, this may lead you to desire to self-isolation or lack of energy a little bit. This is very possible. However, Jupiter, even though in the very last degrees of the 11th house, is still training you, is still supporting you, is still bringing you divine blessing. So use your intuition. Be also disciplined because and very intuitive and very spiritual and empathic because of the placement of your ruler right now. Venus will be supporting you financially. Mars in your 5th house would require, because he will be aspecting your ascendant, will be aspecting your descendants, still that you're patient with your beloved ones, also with your children. He may give you direction to studies, to interesting new studies, to point towards ambition there in the new studies. And the placement of the sun can be an opportunity for new spiritual information, awareness, and also for travels. Let's see Aquarius now. Aquarius is wonderful. We said that Venus is entering your ascendant to bless you. And this is really very nice because Jupiter is creating sextile with Venus. Well, we know there will be a square between Venus and Mars, and this would say that you may have Mars will be at your home, in your in the place where your properties, where your home is, your parents as well. Venus is the one in this case which is active, forming the aspect. So even though you may be a little bit too temperamental, too emotional with home, still this is not a bad placement and can create ambition to for your work and motivation. And Jupiter in the very last degrees of Scorpio at the place of your work in your career would say that you may not have his typical support and blessing. Therefore, use your intuition and rely mainly on the kind and beautiful support and blessing of Venus on your ascendant. So at work, at the place where you're making your money. You are lucky because of the placement of the sun, but still use your intuition more than usual. Saturn in your 11th house also now, this is valid for the whole period, will be selective in terms of friends, in terms of social sphere, in terms of people which are surrounding you. And Saturn would say also that in terms of making money, you need to be disciplined, time-oriented, and maintain high moral values, of course. But Venus will be really true, will bring joy into your life right now. And now Pisces with the sun on your ascendant, exalted for our era. Otherwise, of course, the ideal place of the exaltation of Pisces for the sun is in Aries, we know. But the sun in Pisces on your ascendant is beautiful to bring you energy, to bring you motivation. Saturn is creating a square, which would say that you need to be, this can be a reason behind some issues with superiors, for example, or can be a little bit suppressing your energies levels, but Jupiter is supporting you enormously from your 9th house, still not in a very typical way, not in the typical for Jupiter way. As we said also for the other signs, Jupiter in the sting of the Scorpion and also in a place ruled by Saturn is a bit different, is a bit darker, is a bit more melancholic. So this is not typically the nature of Jupiter as we know it. This is different, very intuitive. Jupiter, very much about healing, very much about the poison, as we say, which is in the sting of the Scorpio. So be very spiritual. Use this week as usual for enhancing your powerful otherwise intuition, and be very disciplined at work, maintaining high moral values because of the placement of Saturn. And also be responsible for your health and do not take any risky trips or do not participate in risky conflicting situations at work. When there will be important conversation at work, use your intuition. And yes, basically this is the most important. Now with this I'm completing this short, very brief overview for the week. And of course, every horoscope is unique. So if you like to have detailed analysis with detailed predictions, you may contact me separately. I'm also making monthly prognosis, which is based mainly on a day-per-day view on which days are good or bad for different activities, like travel, like surgeries, even gardening, or teaching or new beginnings. All these activities I'm mentioning in my monthly prognosis, which is day by day prognosis. So thank you.